welcome. We are going to walk you through how to make the sorghum sandwich bread. I know bread, any type of bread seems kind of scary, but especially gluten-free. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through both ways that we're recommending that you make it. One, the good old-fashioned oven, okay? And the other would be the bread maker. I will tell you, I prefer the bread maker only because I don't have a lot of time to sit around and wait for things to proof. So I'm going to start with the bread maker. If you don't have a bread maker, then I'm going to walk you through how to do the mixer and to proof it and then to cook it in your oven. So first thing you'll need is obviously you'll need the mix of sorghum sandwich bread. So the first thing that we're going to do is I've already pre-measured out all of the ingredients that we need to add into this. Okay, so we've got a cup of warm water. You want to have it room temperature, 3 eggs, 2 tablespoons of honey, and then a half a cup of olive oil. I always use olive oil. If you want to use a different type of oil, you can. I like the taste of olive oil, the health benefits of it. Also with the honey, on the directions I put that you can either do honey or you can do agave. So for the people that used to come to my bakery, I had 2 different sandwich breads. I had the honey sorghum and then I had the millet bread. If you're looking more for the taste of the honey sorghum, you're going to want to use honey for your sweetener. If you like the millet bread, you're going to want to use agave. So the agave gives it a little bit more, I would say, of a whole wheat flavor to it. And the honey gives the sorghum just a little bit, I won't say sweeter flavor, but it's just not quite as whole wheaty, I guess, is the term? Probably not. But anyways, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually, before we put the stuff in the bread maker, I'm going to mix together the wet ingredients. So I'm going to pour my cup of water, my 3 eggs, and I just do this. You can pour them all into your bread maker. I just like to make sure stuff is incorporated a little bit, you know, before I put it in there to make sure everything is evenly distributed. Okay. Oh, and then we're going to do the honey. And I just use a whisk. If you want to use a fork, you can use a fork. You don't need to use anything fancy. You just need to get it incorporated before we put it in the bread pan. So I'm just going to whisk this together. I'm just going to combine it. Doesn't take very long. Okay. All right, so we've got that incorporated. I'm going to set that aside. And the next thing you're going to do is within your sorghum bread mix, it's got the bread mix and then it has a little pouch for the yeast that's measured out exactly how you'll need. So just again, to make sure the yeast is incorporated evenly throughout your bread mix, you're going to open up your yeast packet and put these in a bowl. There we go. So again, just going to pour this in here. And I'm just going to whisk to incorporate it. So again, if you just want to use a fork to kind of fold it in or a spoon, what you want to do is you just want to make sure that you've got the yeast somewhat incorporated. I mean, the bread maker will obviously mix everything, but I just kind of like to make sure everything is kind of already on its way. Okay, so it's really simple, guys. I have a really old bread maker, so you're going to want to put it on a setting of 2-pound loaf, which is all those directions are in the back of the sorghum bag. And you're going to either use a gluten-free setting or you're going to want to do the basic rapid, okay? Because you don't want to, it doesn't need to rise as much as like a normal loaf of bread that you would do in a bread maker. Most of the newer bread makers all have gluten-free. Mine's just 20 years old, so it has the basic rapid is what I have to use. It is super simple. So this is why I love using the bread maker, especially if you got kids. You just do all this, you put it in there, you set it, 3 hours later, voila, you have bread that's done, okay? Then you're just going to take your dry, so put all the wet at the bottom, and then you're just going to scoop in your dry ingredients on top. Okay, now I like to even it out, so it's even on top here. And then literally we're just going to pop it back into the bread maker and hit on. That's it. So the only other thing I recommend that you do is, so this will have an initial warm up. Okay, and then it'll start incorporating the product. After a few minutes after it's been mixing it, you may want to take a spoon or something or a spatula and scrape down the sides because sometimes the dry mix will get on the sides. You just don't have it on the outside of your loaf of bread when it comes out. Okay, so that's it. That is all there is to doing the bread via the bread maker. Okay, you just push go, leave it, 3 hours, it'll come out, okay? Now I'm gonna walk you through, clean up my area here. I'm gonna walk you through how to do it, doing the mixer and then cook it in the oven. So the first thing you wanna do is you're gonna preheat your oven to 350, okay? The next thing you're gonna do is we wanna create a proofing cabinet, okay? So how I kind of, at the bakery I had a professional proofer. You're gonna create one with your microwave. So if you've got a microwave, it is the perfect place to do it. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna take a coffee cup, which I already have, fill it up with water. Takes about 4 minutes, okay? So you want it really hot and steamy in there, because again, you wanna create an environment that's about 80 degrees. So that is like the ideal temperature for bread to rise. So I'm not gonna turn the microwave on, but what I'm doing is about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. The directions are also on the back of the sandwich bread on how to do that, because that's gonna be your cabinet where we're gonna rise, have the bread rise. Okay, so, move these out of the way. I have a whole other set of ingredients already ready here. All right. So again, it's sort of the same thing that we just did with the bread maker. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is we're gonna incorporate our yeast. Into our dry mix. Oops. It's not so important for this because we're gonna actually mix it in the blender and the stand mixer. But again, this helps get it incorporated throughout the dry mix. So the first thing we're going to do here is with our pan, you want to do some sort of pan release on it. I use an allergen-free just spray. If you don't have an allergen-free pan release, you can just use shortening and then put flour in there, make sure it comes out. Or you can use no-stick pans. It's also important that you use a pan. It's very helpful that has tall sides because there's not a lot of structure with the gluten-free bread, so it just helps maintain its structure. So what we're going to do here in our stand mixer is we are going to, again, we have our cup of room temperature water, we've got 3 eggs, a half a cup of olive oil, and our 2 tablespoons of honey. So we're just going to put all of it. And you're going to want a stand mixer. Now you can use a hand mixer, but it is really thick. So I mean, gluten-free bread dough is really like thick batter. So it's like really thick cake batter. And the stand mixer just really makes it very easy to do. Okay, so it doesn't take very long. We just want to incorporate our wet, and then we're just going to add all of our dry, including our yeast. So we already add our yeast in here. If you don't have the time, or you forget to put the yeast and mix it in ahead of time with the dry mix, it's not a big deal for the one you put in the oven and that we're going to proof, because it's all getting mixed in together here. So when we're mixing this, it's really, really important. We want to probably mix this about 1.5 to 2 minutes. Make sure everything is fully incorporated so it rises properly. Okay, so after you've done about 2 minutes, mixed up really well again, it's going to be really, really thick cake batter. Okay, so we're going to want to scoop it into our already pre-greased, pre-treated pan. Another thing that's really important, since we're going to be proofing this in the microwave, in the winter it's going to take longer. Okay, the weather really does impact how things rise and how things come out as far as baking. So where in the summer, if you're having stuff rise, it may take 20 minutes. It could take 40 to 50 minutes for bread to rise this time of year. Well, in the winter. I'm making this video in the winter, so when it's cold outside, it does take a lot longer. And you may even have to pull your bread out and warm your cup of water back up to make sure your proofing cabinet that you've created in your microwave maintains its warmth. So I'm just going to smooth it out so it's smooth on top. You can use a little bit of water if you want. Don't need to use a lot, but just so it's smoothed out. And then you're going to proof this anywhere from probably like 30 to 50 minutes. So I would say on average is about 40 minutes. Again, if the weather is warm and it's in the middle of the summer, it's gonna rise a lot faster. So just kind of keep an eye on it. You can set a timer. So maybe at 20 minutes, go and check and see where you're at. You're gonna want it to be about, I don't know, you're gonna want it to be about 1 inch to the top, 1.5 inches to the top of the pan, because it's not gonna rise that much more when it gets into the oven, okay? So we're gonna take our dough, right now, our batter, put it in the microwave, and set a timer. Don't cook it in the microwave, set the timer on the microwave for about 20 to 30 minutes, and your oven's preheating at 350. And when that comes out, when it's proofed up to about 1 inch to the top, you're gonna pop it in the oven and you're gonna cook it for 50 to 55 minutes, okay? Or to the internal temperature is like 215, so if you wanna use a thermometer to check that, all that information is on the back of the package. So in this, what we have on the cutting board is actually the end result, okay? So I hope that helps. It's just supposed to be a basic introduction on how to do the sorghum bread. So we can hear in the background also that my bread maker is now working. So I'm gonna actually, just since I have it, take the spatula I'm already using and I'm just gonna scrape down the sides a bit. And in that way also, we make sure that everything is completely incorporated in here. And then you can just let it go. Nothing else you need to do on that one. And then just keep your eye on the bread in the proofer. And when that is ready, just pop it in the oven for about 50 to 55 minutes. Pop it out, put it on a cooling rack, and you will be all set. Hope this was helpful. Thanks a lot. Next time.